Broadsword calling Danny boy.
Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. It's all been kicking off in the last few days. This is the image that has been causing the stink in the newspapers and across the world's press. This is from Sol 719, Curiosity Rover image. Not a bad quality image, this is pretty close up to the rover. And it's been coined the Mars thigh bone, or femur bone. Now, one thing you will find, and there will be a link for this so you can download it yourself, it's quite a good quality image. You can actually see the rover's tracks here where it's kind of run over the thing. Another priceless artifact run over by the Curiosity rover. Not the first thing. I've found lots of stuff that's been run over by it in the past, including fossilized or mummified creatures, in fact. So this isn't the first. And I've been looking at a lot of the stuff in the press about this. There's lots and lots of stories about it in the press. The press are going with this. There's also a whole plethora of stories about stuff about this thing. And if you just do a Google on it, leg bone Mars or whatever, like I've done here, you'll see that some of my videos will come up, like this one here, Mars dinosaur bone. That's something I published a year ago, and there are many similar finds up there. Lots of people have found skulls and bones and even corpses. Not just me. There are hundreds and hundreds of people all over the world doing this now, and I get sent stuff even from possible people from NASA as well. I get sent links. I get sent hints and tips by researchers from all over the world. Many of them scientists, not just public people, but all sorts of people, scientists and military people, and even some guys from NASA by the looks of it. I mean, I've done some research into some of these people, and there's some pretty high up people leaking stuff out now. So it's not a conspiracy. Us researchers get labelled as conspiracy theorists, but we're not. I mean, if there was a conspiracy, then this would never have come out, would it? So where's the conspiracy? I don't see one. We're researchers and we're digital archaeologists. That's what we're doing. We're looking at digital photographs and trying to ascertain whether there's any evidence for past life on Mars. And this is one of the best ones you'll see. It's not the best. I've got better, and so have other people got better finds than this. But we'll go with this because the press are going crazy about this one. This is running right across the world. If you look it up on Google, you'll get something like 500,000 results straight off the bat. Almost every single newspaper has run a story on it. So let's have a look at it. Right, and unlike a lot of people, I'll get in closer and give you some real detail on this. Now, NASA are saying this is just an eroded rock. Okay. Right. Now, this looks like, it does actually look very much like a femur bone to me. I'm not sure if it's a humanoid type of bone. It looks more like some kind of bone from a quadruped, like maybe a small mammal or possibly even a lizard. But to me, judging by this kink in the bone here, it could well be a back leg femur of a four-legged creature. I could be wrong. I've been looking at some images of femur bones. I have sort of studied anatomy, but I'm not an expert on animal anatomy. I'm not a vet, so there are many types of leg bones, and here are some. Now, the typical human thigh bone is fairly straight. It has a slight curve to it. This also goes for any sort of upright walking creatures. A lot of dinosaurs walked on two legs. They're bipedal like us. A lot of birds walk on two legs. They have quite straight leg bones. This is for upright walking. So now there are so many types. Now, but one thing to bear in mind is that our bones are actually hollow. You would have bone marrow. This is a cross section of a femur here, a human femur, and you see this hole. This is where the bone marrow would be. This would go right through the centre of the bone. Now, if you look at the bone we have on Mars, and I do think it is a bone, none of the newspapers have actually gone with this. They've all repeated parrot fashion all the crap that NASA have come out with about this being just an eroded water or whatever eroded rock that happens to be shaped exactly like a femur bone. Yeah, right. Okay, NASA. Right. We know you don't lie, don't we? Yeah, right. Now, but if you enhance this, you get in close, you will find, like I've done here, I've done an enhancement of it for you. Let's get in really close to it. And I've sharpened it up. I've drawn around it, sharpened it. I've done my usual trickery to try and drag out as much detail as possible here. Now, this is completely consistent with a thigh bone. Not a human thigh bone, but a thigh bone of a mammal. And if you look here, you can see a hole here. Now, this is completely consistent with a thigh bone of, say, something like a sheep or a goat or some kind of mammal, four-legged creature. And the kink in the bone does dictate to me that this is probably not belonging to a bipedal creature like a humanoid or an upright dinosaur. This looks like a bone of a quadruped, sorry. Right, okay, so let's get in. Look at this detail. Now, I've sharpened that up for you just to bring out this hole. Now, that is hollow. So that says to me it's probably a bone. And the shape of it, the colour of it. I mean, we can't really trust the colours of stuff on Mars because they filter everything. There's always this kind of browny, crappy sort of reddish colour. And we know full well that a lot of the sand up there isn't even this colour at all. A lot of it's blue, actually. A lot of Mars is blue. It's not necessarily red. Okay, so the colours may be fairly meaningless, but you can see that it is the colour of a bone. I mean, bones are a sort of yellowy colour. They can get sun bleached, but this one was obviously covered up and has been uncovered by the rover's wheel. So it's got a bit of sand and dirt on there, so you've got to kind of try and see through that, which is why I've done these enhancements. There's also an interesting thing here. Now, this could be a Stone Age tool, perhaps, like an arrowhead or something like that. There could be other fragments of bone in here, in this wreckage here, but obviously that the rover's gone straight over it, so they could have destroyed some or severely damaged some absolutely crucial evidence. And why hasn't the rover gone back to it? Now, this image was only taken about 8 days ago. Sol 719. Now, take a look at this guy. Now, this was taken. This is 711, so this is only 8 days before that. This is a couple of weeks back. This was taken. This is something I published very recently. Now, could it belong to this guy? This is a conehead alien skull on Mars. Now, that's just a raw clip there. Nothing's been done to that. You can see it's that same sort of grungy puke filter on it that they use on everything. So this is the raw image that you get. It's been over compressed and resized, so you've got these grungy sort of blocks in here and lines, almost like a grid going through it. But you can get rid of that if you blur it up, and I've done some enhancements of it here. Here's an enhanced version of that. Now, this guy isn't very far away from this thigh bone. It could even belong to him, because I mean, I don't know what an alien thigh bone looks like. Which is why you should never dismiss evidence like this. Like, all the press are dismissing this as just some rock, just because NASA said, oh, it's probably a rock that's eroded. BS. I cry BS on that. This is typical of NASA. They run over a crucial piece of archaeological evidence and then claim it's just a rock. Now, what the hell are they doing up there if it's not to find stuff like this? I'm sure there must be people all around the world, paleontologists and archaeologists all over the world thinking, what the hell are they doing? What on Earth or what on Mars are they doing? What are they there for? Why don't they drive back to the goddamn thing and pick it up and turn it over, take some close-ups of it, get in close like this, I mean, it's not a bad quality image. You can see some good detail here. I've sharpened that up a little bit for you. But all they have to do, they can't be more than a few meters away from it. Even now, even a week later, the thing travels so slowly. All they got to do is turn that thing around, drive back to it, get the arm cam and turn it over, get some nice close-up shots of it, some microscopic shots of it, and then we can see it in its true detail. If this is a bone, and I think it is, it should have porous holes in it, because bone isn't completely solid, it's porous. And it looks to me like it is porous, so you can see these black dots here. Now, these look to me very consistent with bones, animal bones, or even human bones. They have holes in. They are porous. So, and that looks pretty convincing to me, just the fact that there's this hole here, because obviously the bone is hollow, where the marrow would go right through the middle of it. And there also seems to be holes in it. Now, I'm pretty sure if you got up really close, you'd probably find that there's millions of tiny little holes in this bone. I mean, if you get up close, you can kind of see something. Let's sharpen it up a bit. There seems to be lots of little tiny holes in it. See these little dots here? There's another one there, look. Now, this is entirely consistent with a bone. So, why are NASA saying it's just a rock? I mean, what the hell are they playing with us? Are they toying with us? What are they doing? They spend billions of dollars on a rover. They find crucial evidence like this almost every day. They're finding stuff like this now, and this guy is probably only 10 or 20 meters away from this. So that thigh bone could belong to this guy here. This guy here. I mean, that's an elongated skull. You can see his teeth, you can see his lips, you can see his nose, you can see his eye. He could have been there for 10,000 years, could have been there 100 years, could have been there a million years, don't know. This is probably freeze-dried or fossilized, much like a lot of the things on Mars are. The conditions up there are very conducive for preservation of even soft tissue like eyes and flesh and lips, and I even have many skulls with hair still on them. Here's an image comparison of that guy. So this is only literally 8 days earlier than the thigh bone this was taken. So this is probably no more than about 25 or 30 meters away from him. Now, anyone who's done any sort of research into animal and human corpses on Earth will know that if an animal or human or whatever is predated upon by predators, the skull often gets separated from the body, and the bones will get dragged off by wolves or wild dogs or even rats or whatever, and the corpse will end up getting torn to bits and then dragged off and eaten. And quite often it's only the larger bones like the skull, which is difficult for an animal to cope with. There's not much edible flesh on the skull. What they would do, they would drag the larger bones off, like the legs and the arms, and they will chew off all the flesh. And often the different parts of the body and skeleton are strewn over quite a wide area, often 100 meters, often 200, even quarter of a mile. If there are predators dragging these things off to chew off the meat and eat the flesh, they could be carried for quite a long way and even buried half a mile away or even a mile away. I mean, this is what happens. So, people said when I published this skull, where's the rest of him? I said, well, these things often get strewn over a wide area, and anyone who's done forensics will tell you the same. It happens on Earth, so why not on Mars? And no one has any evidence yet, not even NASA, to disprove that this is an alien skull, or that any of the finds that I have found in the last year and a half, nobody has come up with one convincing argument, not even a half convincing argument, that there was not life on Mars in the past. And anyone who says there wasn't and says that there's only rocks on Mars hasn't done the research. So don't listen to them. They're full of it. They're full of BS. Now, NASA claimed to be going up there to do scientific research. Okay, right. Well, we'll do something then. You have plenty of evidence right near the rover. Just go back about 20 meters and let's have some close-ups. Let's have some real nice microscopic images of the the pores and holes, tiny holes in the bone, to prove beyond reasonable doubt that it is an animal bone. And if there's no if there's no creatures on Mars, there's no dangerous creatures, and I think there may be nothing left up there now. It may all be dead, but there could well be very small creatures still alive, like small rodents, and possibly things like cockroaches and things like that, crabs perhaps. Um, Now this is an article here about what your home on Mars could look like, and there's this sort of modular thing with lots of hexagons that all kind of fit in. Which they could just drop on the surface, and you could live in that. Interesting stuff. Martian pyramid there, yeah. But this one really caught my eye because this is called the Mars Acropolis. Now, let me zoom in a little bit for you there. This one made me laugh because if there's not anything to be scared of on Mars, if there's nothing but rocks on Mars, then why the hell is this thing built like a fortress with a huge armoured retaining wall round the edge of it? I mean, this looks like something you'd expect to see on Jurassic Park to keep out dinosaurs. Uh, it's a very interesting story. This was about a week ago. This was running. I've had it up on my desktop for a week. I've been meaning to do it to mention this because it was. Where are we? It was in CNET. Yeah, CNET.com news. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting article. There's been an awful lot of stuff like this coming up in the news in the last week or so. Is the Mars is really hot at the moment. I suggest you check this out because that's quite an interesting illustration there. It's pretty cool, I think. Yeah, the little shuttle there and a roadway sort of entrance here. But yeah, why the big wall? If there's nothing to be scared of up there, if there's nothing but rocks on Mars, why build a huge, dirty, great retaining wall around your fortress on Mars? And why are now at least 7 countries are now saying they're going to be on Mars by 2025. China, India, even the United Arab Emirates are sending a mission to Mars. Everybody wants a piece of the action. Now, what is up there? Now, why would everyone be spending billions of dollars on space programs to race to Mars? They know that there's stuff up there. They've seen it. They've probably watched some of our videos and stuff, and they probably thought, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's go and send a mission up there." They know there's stuff up there. They have known since the late 1970s that there was probably life on Mars in the past. Most people in NASA claim that it was billions of years ago. Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? I mean, look at this. I mean, this is one of the finds from last year. Mars Amazing Alien Humanoid Skulls. I mean, this is one I published about a year ago. This is pretty clear. It's not the clearest photograph in the world. It's a little bit grungy, this one. But you can clearly see that's a skull. I mean, it's got 2 eye sockets here. It's got nasal cavities there. Just about make out some teeth there. There's a jawbone, sort of cheekbone here. And a sort of large elongated head. It's kind of squashed and at a funny angle, so I flipped it round for you there. Let's go full screen with that. It doesn't get any sharper because it's actually quite a long way away from the camera, this one. But yeah, that's just an example. I've got hundreds of things like this, and so as well at What's Up in the Sky, so have lots of other Mars anomaly channels. They have hundreds and hundreds of specimens and artifacts. Many of them are bones and skulls. Some people have the whole sort of dinosaur spines and skeletons and you name it. People have already found it. As far as I'm concerned, we already proved that there was life on Mars at least about a year or so ago. And we've all been running stories on this, and the press have only really started to pick up on it recently. Now, this is one I published, a dinosaur leg bone and snake fossil found on Mars. This is another one I published about a year ago. Now, this may look a bit odd, but actually this is not just a bone. Now, I think this is a dinosaur bone, or perhaps the bone of a flightless bird, a large flightless bird. Now, this is fossilized, but it's not just, this is the bone here. Okay, now this looks like a leg bone. Not not that familiar looking, but this large lump on this end here may actually well be some petrified flesh. This big lump here. So what we're getting here is not just a bone, but some petrified flesh actually dried and fossilized onto it as well. So, you know, these things are all over the place. In fact, I would go as far to say that every set, almost every set, not every set, almost every single set of Mars images. Here, this is from Sol 719. Now, some of these sets are 50 images, some are 100. They seem to be getting smaller, these sets, for some reason. I think they're omitting a lot of them and not letting us see them. When they first got there, the image sets were like 300 a piece. Now you're lucky to get 50 or 100. So they seem to be cutting down on the amount of information they're giving us. But this is a pretty good one. And if you go back to this is a typical set that you will find from the Rover. There's not that many in it. There's about 40 or 50 images, and most of them are selfies of the Rover taking photographs of itself. Yeah, thank you very much. Like we haven't seen it already, and of its own tracks. But one good thing about the tracks being in the images is the fact that you can use them to measure. I think the tracks are somewhere in the realm of about 18 inches thick or wide. I mean, each wheel. Something like 16 or 18 inches. I'm not sure exactly. I'll have to check on that. But you can kind of use that as a ruler. You can actually use it as a ruler guide. So it is quite useful. So when you're looking at these things, you can actually use that as a ruler to get some kind of idea how large these artifacts are. So using that method, I think that this bone here is about a foot long. It's not huge. So that if this was a humanoid, then you could say that the lower leg bone was about another foot long. So you probably type 1, 2, 3, 4. This, if it is a humanoid, and it probably isn't a humanoid bone, he would only be about 4 foot tall. So, but that does kind of go with some of the other finds. A lot of the other skulls that I found on Mars are really quite small. I mean, this is large. This guy's large. This is over a foot long in itself. This is something like 16 or 18 inches long, this skull. It's really big. It may be just 14 or something, but it's over a foot long. It's a good 14 inches at least. So could it belong to the same guy? Maybe. We don't know. I mean, to have such a small leg bone for such a large head, probably not. But there are other specimens that I've found on Mars that are conducive with quite short legs, and some of them are dwarf skeletons and dwarf skulls. Let me just see if I can find one for you now. Let's go to my videos. Some of the things I found. I mean, there's the Mars creature run over by Curiosity. I mean, that little guy there is quite small. He's only about 8 or 9 inches. But the tire tracks went right over him and broke his foot off. Let me show you him now, actually. No, let's get rid of the advert. I've called him Probo because he looks to have some sort of proboscis-like nose, like a long nose. Here's the Rover track here. Let's go HD. Okay, let's go to 1080. Let's go full screen. Here he is. I've called him Probo. Now you can see that it's not in a very good shape, and it's obviously been dead a very long time. It's freeze dried like many of the other specimens. But you can see an eye here. You can see his back legs here, which is kind of broken. He's got a leg here, another leg there, and this is his head, and he's got a long proboscis-like nose that's sticking out. But when you see the enhancements, you'll get a bit more of a better idea. There we go. And if you look just below, his foot's actually broken off. I mean, getting in this close it actually isn't very helpful because the images are quite grungy. But when you enhance it, you can see what I'm on about. I mean, this guy could have been there a million years and is freeze dried and fossilized, like many of the other specimens. It's very cold up there, and very very dry, and the sand probably has a very high saline content, which means that it would suck any moisture out of a dead creature, and literally mummify it in almost within a few days. This would explain why they're so well preserved, some of these things. There we are. See, this is like some kind of strange alien lizard, perhaps. Couldn't tell you for sure. And there's his foot. Now that foot would join onto there, and the rover has literally run over this guy and snapped his foot off. So don't tell me that there was never any life on Mars. Of course there was. Anyone with half a brain and even half an eye can see that there was. All you have to do is look. The newspapers, let's get rid of that, are very good at repeating the crap that NASA come out with parrot fashion. Have I got any of the newspaper articles up here? There's lots of other things in the news. I won't go into the rolling rock. I'll do that in my next video. There's lots of rocks moving around on the surface, and some of them are really weird. They look like animal tracks, perhaps, some of them. So we'll come back to that perhaps tomorrow. This is just an in the news kind of edition for ArtAlienTV. I thought I'd do it because I think Jason Hunter's got the really big video for this one, and mine comes up right next to it. So I'm not complaining one little bit about this. This is great. This is getting people interested. People need to learn about bones and fossils and understand that there are many to be found on the surface of Mars. Anyone who says otherwise hasn't actually looked. And if they have looked and they haven't come to that conclusion, they haven't looked hard enough. So do your homework, people. My subscribers are perfectly aware of this, and many of them do their own research and make their own videos. A lot of them send me links to these images. And I'd like to thank you all for that. You've all been extremely helpful, and you've given me a lot of support. I've been trolled quite bad recently, especially in the last week or so, because obviously my videos are coming up when people are looking up the leg bone, because I've got so many bones up there that I found. But it's good. It's creating an interest, and I shouldn't complain. It's all good. I may get called an idiot and a retard, and people may sort of try and tell me that I'm insane. I should be locked up and I shouldn't be allowed to post videos on YouTube. I mean, who are these people? Who are they saying things like that, for God's sake? So yeah, here we go. Let's have one last look at that. Now, most videos I've seen on this don't actually get in very close, but if you get in close, as with a lot of these things, they look exactly what they are supposed to be. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a leg bone, and you can see the hole here. You can see little pits and holes in this bone, which are entirely consistent with a fossil, even a fossilized leg bone. Let's have another look at one on Google Images. We'll go back to Google Images. Let's get rid of that one. I mean, there are many types of thigh bone. Just because it doesn't look exactly like one type of thigh bone doesn't mean it's not another type. I mean, and we don't really know for sure exactly what Martian physiology is quite yet, although I do have some pretty good ideas, having seen so many Martian bones. But we really don't know exactly what size and shape they all are. I've come to the conclusion that a lot of the Martians were really small, and some of them were only about a foot or two high, some were only about 3 foot or 4 foot high, and I think some of them were about 6 or 7 foot tall, much like modern humans. So there you go. That's something that most scientists wouldn't even dare say in public because they're scared of ridicule, and I can understand that. But I'm quite willing to go with this and take all the flack, and I do get a lot of flack, and it can be quite hard sometimes. I've had to ban quite a few people from my channel in the last couple of weeks because it's getting really quite angry. It's really making people angry. What are they scared of? Is it xenophobia? Possibly. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope I didn't ramble on too long there, but this is a major story. And could it belong to this guy? It could do. I mean, we really don't know. These two anomalies here are probably only 20 or 25 meters apart. I mean, the rover moves extremely slowly. So, and this guy's bones could have been strewn across an area as wide as half a mile or even a kilometer. So, this could well belong to this guy here. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.